So I kind of wanted to share some experiences that I've had in my life and what's led me to kind of doing this video, if that makes sense. So at one point I bought a golf cart off of OfferUp. You know, it's a $2,000 golf cart. It lived its life on a golf range for whatever, and then this guy probably buys them from the golf cart, sells them, you know. And my family and I are going to ride this thing around, and we're going to take it camping, and we're going to do all this fun stuff with it. And I got it home, and I was decently like upset about how fast it was. I think it did like 9 to 11 miles an hour. So I went into, you know, a deep dive of the internet. I'm searching cracks and crevices, and I'm looking for information because it's an electric golf cart, and there's a lot of fear under buying a set of batteries that don't work with that speed controller, or a speed controller that'll burn up the stock engine. And then if you buy this speed controller for the stock engine, maybe it won't work for a better engine. So like, I kind of just wished that I had had a guide like this to kind of guide me through my purchase. So that kind of leads into, you know, the topic of what today is, like, what is an ECU? What can it do for your motorcycle? Buyer's guide. There's a lot of good ECU brand options out there. I'm going to share a little bit about why I chose the path that I chose as a business. So it's kind of a deep dive into, you know, ECUs, if you will. Starting out, your motorcycle will come with typically a Kian ECU. You know, it's a Japanese manufacturer, and they have a lot of good stuff built into it. A lot of options sometimes on some of the bikes, but we go in a little bit further. See, that map file that would come from Japan would have to go to all 50 states in America, usually every other country that's out there. So it's going to be a very broad, safe environment. No matter if somebody's going to pour 87 pump gas in a bike, you know, they want to have some safety to prevent recalls. So that's always going to leave room for a company like ours on the table to be able to go in, tune the motorcycle, and find those important parts of performance that maybe the manufacturers can't provide on an OEM level. So it starts with an OEM remap. There are some softwares out there like that we can have access to certain parameters of the OEM ECU. And then what our favorite thing is to do is we kind of go in and pirate the information from the main chip. And then that will give us the fuel tables, the ignition timing tables, the RPM, that type of stuff. So not every bike can we get to that yet, just it's about the amount of time we spend in doing each motorcycle. But like all the current KTM 250s, 450s, 500s, you know, gas, Husqvarna, all that from like 22.5 and above, we have that really cool digital 3D access to how we have pulled the information and been able to modify it and put it back into the motorcycle. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with the stock ECU, like I said, and even the stuff that we do within the OEM's parameters does make a difference. It's just we're kind of used to being able to tune more on a Vortex or a Get or an AIM ECU where we have ultimate control of everything. So those ECUs we really like to do because it's fun, it's exciting. We get to, you know, figure out where the map switch works or doesn't work and all that stuff. So that's some of the challenges that we face as tuners, to figure out those things, but it's actually really rewarding when you get them done. So that's kind of like if you want to remap your stock ECU. We typically stay away from the cell phone based tuning. So like Yamaha would come with a cell phone app, the new KX450. And reason being is as a business model, you know, if we spend a lot of time to develop between the dyno, track testing, come up with a setting that looks awesome, rides awesome, everything, and then if we try to make money on it, I feel like somebody would be upset that we are a business, because I mean, this is what we do for a living. But somebody would maybe be upset and then go to Vital MX or any, you know, message boards, screenshot what we've worked on, and then share it to the masses. So then we kind of really don't have a business anymore, and that's not fair to us. So we kind of steer away from any of the OEM, you know, if you will, shareable tunes for that reason, just because, you know, you put effort into something as a company and you need to be able to make a living doing it, and that's sharing some of the reasons why maybe we won't remap your stock Yamaha or those things. So it's not that we're trying to be unfair, it's just that there are some people in the world that would take advantage of a situation like that. And then it's like, oh, the secret's out, this is what Twisted does. I mean, we do work within the same tables that you can see, we just know how to edit them and get the most out of them. And so I think that would be our advantage for that. So kind of touching on that, and then going into like the ECUs that we do map, the stock ones, we do have a trade up program. That's something that most people, I guess, don't know. We try to market it, but it's kind of like hard to get to. If you buy a stock ECU from us, so like this is a stock key and ECU, when you get it back, this is what it looks like. And if you buy a stock ECU from us, you pay the mapping fee, and let's say that, you know, you still want a little bit more, or you've had such a good experience with that ECU that now you want to trade up to like a Vortex. What we do is we ask you to send the ECU into the shop, we reprogram it back to stock, and then we apply the exact money you paid to program that ECU as a credit towards the purchase of a Vortex ECU. So at that stage, you know, more people have $400 than they have $1,000, right? And so I believe that is a good offering to the consumer, that you can get your bike to run better. And if you're overly happy with it, there are still some changes we can make if you want a couple little small things, but you're generally happy with the stock ECU flash. And then if you really are enjoying the experience and you want to step up to a Vortex ECU, you're not going to lose the money you paid. So basically the ideology is you pay the mapping fee for your motorcycle one time, and then you can apply that up to a Vortex ECU. So those are some of the things that I think are pretty cool, that, you know, you can trade up and kind of keep going. Like if you're having fun with it, you don't have to stop. You can, you know, apply that same money with no, you know, the shipping would be out, but that's about it. So that's one of the things that I wanted to give you the confidence. If you're looking to buy an ECU, or if you're looking to make your bike run better, this is a trade-up program that you kind of can't lose on, because you're inching your way towards the extra money that maybe you don't feel comfortable spending at this point. So that's one of the things we do there. And then, so that kind of covers up stock ECU tuning, parameters, how we can get to expert maps that are made, feelings that we can change, all of those things. If we're going to talk about now, one of the reasons why I wanted to share why we chose Vortex. So with the Vortex ECU, you know, you're going to have the X10, the high, the mid, the low, and they're all adjustable with this flathead screwdriver. And what the X10 means is that we're going to load 10 total Twisted Development TD spec proprietary maps that we've come up with from track testing with all the guys and girls and everybody in between. And that gives us a lot of options. So we don't have to nail the hammer of the head right on, because like everybody's bike will ride different, everybody's skill level will be different, everybody's idea of how they want to ride their bike will be different. So that would be one disadvantage to the OEM stuff, is, you know, we kind of put our best stuff in the OEM maps, and you might have map 1, map 2. With the Vortex, you know, we get 10 opportunities. Some of the other ECUs give you 6 opportunities, some of them give you 2 opportunities, some give you, so as a widespread option, it's like we feel confident with this ECU that whenever we ship it out, there's like a wide variety of stuff that you can click through. And with that being said, you know, with the Vortex, we're doing our best to install our 10 best maps per your application. So let's go over some examples. You have a pipe, you run, you know, pump gas or race gas or whatever it may be. Those are some of the details that we're going to need to narrow down the best TD spec map for you. Usually the fueling and the exhaust is pretty loose, and I'll say the reasoning why is like most of the motorcycles today are going to come with a very good exhaust system. These OEMs are fighting all the other OEMs for shootouts. They're constantly evolving. Like, technology's gotten a lot better. They're digitally, you know, making the exhaust systems on a computer now, and then proof of concept by actually making them and then putting them on a motorcycle. So I would say the days of like 4 to 5 horse on an exhaust pipe are kind of minimal anymore, unless the manufacturer just completely missed for whatever reason. But for the most part, I would say that that's not really going to be the case. So the fueling in a stock motorcycle, you know, with the low, mid, high trims, you know, when you're on low, you can consider that to be like 5% throttle to 25% throttle. So it's that very touch of the throttle. And then when you're on the mid, it's going to be 33 to 66% throttle, and then the high is just going to be 75 and 100. So the high throttle, the mid throttle, the low throttle, like those are the fueling requirements. So like we know how to advise the customer based on our TD spec mapping. If you're going to run an ETS or a VP or a Renegade or a Fuel Factory or whatever fuel it is, we know the burn rate because we've dynoed a bunch of fuels and we kind of know how that goes. So we can narrow you down into that application. So within the TD spec maps, you always have that adjustability of fuel, and that's one of the things that's going to be the major player as far as, you know, when you're switching fuels or what bike you have and stuff like that. For example, like the ETS fuel burns quite a bit slower, you know, so if you were going to sell a map spec for Pro 6 or Renegade SX4 Plus or whatever it may be, you would tend to like click the ECU a little bit leaner whenever you would run ETS, because that's like the burn speed and stuff like that. The major player that will go into choosing a different set of TD spec maps, and this is kind of whenever you fill out the form online, we're going to pick, so we kind of group two groups, stock bike with or without fuel pipe, kind of that scenario. And then more importantly, whenever you go to a modified engine and the compression is a decent amount higher, that is something that we are going to have to really pick two different sets of maps for. The modified bike, whenever the compression goes a lot higher, the spark timing event has to be a lot more accurate and usually more retarded from, you know, where, like, let's say a stock motorcycle could run with less compression. So that's kind of some of the things, like whenever you're looking into an ECU and you're thinking about what you want, you think about what you want out of your bike. There's a lot of options for good ECU tuners in the country. Like, we're fortunate. There's a lot of good people that do what, you know, we do. So you do have options. If it's a trade-up program that you're interested in, we have you covered. If it's a Vortex program we're interested in, we have you covered. It's just kind of one of those things where you have to have a good feeling of what you want out of your bike, who you want to do that with, and ultimately who will be there if you want to make some changes or do whatever. So we also have this TD spec mapping upgraded service, and that's one of those things that we don't really know how to launch. We're trying to launch. Whenever some customers will have like a very intricate, they'll tell you what grips they run, how fast they are, that always comes out, and all of these really dramatic things, and they may want to send their ECU back multiple times to like finitely, like there are some guys that love setting up their motorcycle as much as they love riding it, they love to like dial it in. So that service is kind of targeted towards someone who can send their ECU back as many times as they want, make the changes as many they want, and then it also qualifies for a discount on mapping going into the next model. So this ECU right now is a Vortex ECU 8H2, and it fits everything current but a Yamaha. And I say current, it doesn't fit a TM, it doesn't fit a Triumph, it fits everything else, you know, pretty much on the market, Japanese main spec moto. So it's going to fit your Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, KTM, all brands of that. So the ECU hardware kind of has a bit of a value, you know, and if you look online, you'll see that there's a bunch of them circulating. You know, people don't sell them with their motorcycle, they'll try to get that money back out of them. So it's kind of an investment, and if you plan on riding motorcycles for a while, I can't predict the future, but right now it does fit, you know, most all motorcycles. So it's kind of cool from that aspect that, you know, you put money into something that you can carry from bike to bike. And so hopefully some of this kind of cleared up some of the ideas that you may have and kind of lead you in the right direction of feeling confident in what you're looking to purchase, what you're looking to get out of it, and what your options are. Like I said, to touch again, there's a lot of good ECUs out there. We choose Vortex because of the flathead screwdriver, the amount of maps that we get, and to be honest, I've been tuning it for 15 plus years. So the depth of library, the usability, all that stuff, the tune time it takes me to actually come up and get a map, and then whenever we are trackside and we're doing feelings and we're doing all of these things to kind of develop the base maps, I get through them really quick because I'm just familiar with the software. So this isn't really a bash to anybody's software or anybody's tuning or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's just a level of comfort that I have with the brand. The owner and I are really close friends, and it just makes me feel confident that I can fix problems. Like whenever Ken Roxon wants this or that or the other, I kind of know what he's saying, and I digitally put that into something that hopefully he will feel, because if I miss too many times, he'll lose faith in me, right? So we always have to have that level of comfort, and this is just like my nappy blanket. I'm comfortable with this, I use it. you know, if you are diehard about another brand of ECU, maybe I won't be the best guy to tune it, even though we have all the software. We do play with all of them. But this is just I get right to it, straight to the point. I know how to manipulate this stuff. So, like I said, hopefully this, motivates anyone to feel a little bit more confident about the purchase you may make. I wished I had this whenever I was making my golf cart faster. Fast forward to, I did buy a speed controller. I did burn up the batteries. Sorry, I did buy a speed controller for my golf cart. It went faster for a little while. I did burn up the engine. I now researched a new engine, and the thing, I had to turn it down because the golf cart's just not stable enough to go as fast as it goes. But if I had this experience, I think I'd have been pretty excited to go straight to what I needed to buy, evaluate if my money was okay on what I was willing to spend, and then go for it and get what I wanted. So hopefully this shortcuts any of your process to not have to be a golf cart wizard, as I still am not. But I do have a pretty fast golf cart that's sketchy to drive, and that's pretty fun. So thanks for the watch. I know it was a little bit long, but I wanted it to be in depth to kind of give you guys a little bit of experience and feedback about what an ECU can do for your motorcycle.